Alrighty, we are back to the Fine Roots, and welcome to the Fine Roots Forest Edition. It's quite nice, actually. Well, today I'm going to talk about a concept that I call the mental garden, and it goes like this. So let's suppose that every day or every person has a a garden inside their mind, and whatever that person decides to do throughout their whole life is going to be the creation of this garden. So let's say that today I do decide to not water the garden. That's fine. Let's say tomorrow I don't feel like watering the garden because I'm tired and I don't want to do it. Well, that's probably fine. It's going to be perfectly fine. Everything that's there is not going to die. It might be a little bit weaker, but it's going to be fine. But let's say I do this for another week or a month. Now, there's going to be consequences for that, or let's say reactions. And so, all the flowers and everything that was planted in this garden is going to wilt a little bit, it's going to get weaker, and it's going to suffer from not having water. Now, let's say I do this for a whole year or two, it probably won't be anything left in this garden. Everything is probably going to be wilted, um, died, and all that's left is just the ground, the earth that is in the garden. And we might say that, well, this is the end of it. There's nothing left in this garden. My life is over. Because there are times where life feels like nothing is happening. I'm at my lowest point in life and I have nothing going on. I don't feel really good. I'm not in a good space. I'm just rock bottom. And that is not to say that the earth is dead. It's just everything that's been planted has died. And you might wonder, okay, well, everything that I worked so hard for has now died. Well, we have to start over. Luckily, the earth is not dead. It's just everything that's been growing there that has died. And we might say that, well, my hard work has gone to waste. Not exactly. Because what if everything that was grown in that garden was all poison ivies, everything that I don't really enjoy? It was just in my younger years, I thought that planting a poison ivy was the trend. It was the cool thing to do, right? So I continue to grow poison ivies and toxic plants because it was the trend. It was cool. So as time goes on, as the garden matures, I begin to realize that, well, I don't want to plant poison ivies because when people come to my garden, I don't want to hurt them. I don't want people to come here and leave with dissatisfaction. I don't like that. So, it might be a good thing that everything that was on there died because things change over time and everything is evolving always. So looking back into life, I might say that, wow, I wasted all my times playing video games. Yes, I spent a lot of time playing video games, but it could also be a way that it protected me from getting into the wrong circles, getting involved into wrong things. Because it did happen. I did get involved into things that I wasn't really proud of, and I got almost like a taste of it. But luckily, I didn't get too deep into those things, and it kind of saved me in a way. So, depending on how the garden is viewed, it's going to be like that. So, continuing on, what was grown in the garden at the time might pass. Everything that's on there might do a full reset. Because let's say that one day I decide to plant a rose here, and I plant poison ivy here, plant a pine tree here, plant an apple tree here, and I fail to realize that to nourish all these type of trees or plants require different kinds of treatments. An apple tree is going to require a lot of energy and resource to breed and to nourish, but a rose, not so much. So if I water this garden now, all the resources is going to go into the apple tree or the pine tree. And the roses is going to be weak because all the water and resources is going to be focused on them. In other words, if my current habits and the thing that I do right now is, let's say, playing video games, my resources is going to go into that, and what's outside of that is going to be sacrificed. It's going to have less resource and energy to be provided for. So let's say relationships, work, self-development, and things of that nature. It's going to have less resources and mental capacity to be evolved or to be nourished for. And so the garden is a mixed garden that I'm not entirely happy with. So I have to reconsider how to grow this garden in a way that I am proud of, in a way that I would like people to come and visit and also leave with an awe that I would like myself to visit a garden, to be left with in awe. Because everything changes all the time. And so everything gets wiped again. And I feel like it's been like this for a very long time, since the very beginning actually. It never felt like it was like a garden that I started with, and it just keeps growing. It becomes like this magnificent garden that is just exudes of magnificence. Like you just look at it and you know that, wow, this person has spent so much time and energy, and all the roses on there is perfect. The colors are vibrant. Every plants are on there are carefully and meticulously planted and positioned to be in unison with everything that's around it. And the color coordination is on point. And just by looking at this garden, it is just jealousy and wow, what the hell? In a way, that could be seen as someone who is very successful, quote unquote. On the outside, it looks very magnificent. But again, the work and dedication and everything that went behind this has its own story. And yes, jealousy might be the first initial reaction because it's like, wow, I want that. But again, if I were to look underneath the surface and what went into creating this magnificent garden, I might shy away because it takes a lot of dedication and focus and discipline to create something like that. And that is not to say that that is the goal in life. Some people's goals is just to create the most beautiful, fame-recognizing garden, whereas others, it's just to create a garden. It's just to be a part of Earth, be a part of the world, and that's enough. To have roses, to just have one apple tree, that's all they want. and some wants to grow grass, and some just wants to have poison ivy. Everything is equally well, and it is through the blend of everything that exists that creates the unique world that we live in. Because every person is different, every mind is different, everyone have different goals, everyone have different path in life. Some only get started with like a handful of earth, whereas others starts with a whole yard of earth that they can plant whatever they want. And so again, it is not to say that the yard of earth to plant whatever you want is the best or the worst. It just has different access and different resources to do different things. Because if someone had a yard of land to landscape, you could say, there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of work to do. And if you're someone that doesn't want to do that kind of work, then having that much land is kind of sucks. Having to tend for all the trees, and one mistake can cost 10, 20 different trees that have been growing for 30 to 40 years, and everything can crash and burn. Whereas just having just this one handful of land, all you gotta plant is just this one little tree, or this plant, tomato plant. And it yields fruits every year, and frequently too, and it can be enjoyed very rapidly. And some just want basil or thyme, whatever you might have it, onion, green onions, salad. Just something very simple. It's very different. But the point is, there is no good or bad. It is just different. And depending on how one decides to tend that garden is the ultimate goal. Because by the end of the day, every garden is going to lose the gardener. And when the gardener is gone, the earth that the gardener was assigned to is also going to be gone. And then again, there's going to be another gardener that is going to be assigned to that lot, and they are going to be the one that is going to decide that is what's going to go on for the next generation. So if your garden does not look like or feel like where it needs to be, that's fine. Personally, I feel like the garden is a work of art, a work of life. It always evolves and it always changes. One day, let's say I plant, like in the beginning, I planted poison ivy, and later in life, I grow up and I realize that I don't like poison ivy. Well, I have to erase all of that and start over. That's okay. If I feel like everything that I put my energy and work into was a waste, and I'm not going to uproot the poison ivy because I feel like it's a waste. Everything I worked for now has to be redone. So I go on with my life and continue to grow this poison ivy. And everyone that comes to my garden leaves with a bitter taste because they get hurt. They come here and they pick up a poison ivy and then they get stung and they're like, this garden sucks. And the kids come by and they touch the poison ivy, they cries, and I never come back to this garden. And if I refuse the truth of that, I'm going to grow with poison ivy. And I'm going to continue my life thinking that, oh, people sucks. Nobody understands poison ivy. Nobody appreciates poison ivy? Well, it is my fault really, because if I refuse to let go of certain habits that hurts people, if I refuse to let go of the things that I do and put my energy and resources into every day, and I foster that, if I refuse to let go of those things and expect a different outcome than what it yields, I'm insane. I am completely insane. That is the definition of crazy. To do things over and over and over and over and expect a different result. So I keep growing poison ivy regardless of what people say and regardless of what people react and behave and what the results are. It is factual that they get hurt, and yet I decide that they suck. Their immune system isn't strong enough. They are not strong enough. They are not, their skin is weak. Their body's weak. And I keep blaming things, and I keep putting the power, giving it away. Whereas I'm the gardener. I'm the one who is in control of this garden. I can decide at this very moment, right now, to let it all go. To uproot everything in this garden. To just take away, destroy all these plants that I've been nourishing for years. And I'm in my 30s right now, and I feel like I have to uproot a lot of things that I've done continuously over the years that I've grown, and habits of the past, like playing video games. There are times where I do want to play, but then when I sit down and play, I'm like, well, this doesn't really feel good in a way because I'm wasting my time. Or it feels like I could use that time to do something more productive, or use it to do something that yields something greater, you could say. For instance, if I were to grow, let's say in the past, same example, I've grown a lot of poison ivies. I know the whole routine. I know exactly how much water it needs to grow. I know where to put it. I know where it grows and where it doesn't grow. I know everything about it. And so, right next to it is a rose. A whole bunch of roses, actually. And let's say that my friend comes by and he says, "Hey, you still got that poison ivy?" This kind of sounds like a drug trade, but it's not. But, the old friends that does grow poison ivy, and I used to grow poison ivy, and he comes by, he's like, "Where's your poison ivy at?" And I tell him, "Well, it's gone for now, but give me 2 weeks. I'll have it for you." And so I fall back into the old routines, old habits, and growing poison ivy, and from that, it starts to affect the other roses. It's going to bleed its toxins into the roses, and it's going to change its color, slightly, slowly. And so the decision that goes into tending this garden is very delicate and very conscious. Because if I grow a garden that is very unconscious, then whatever wants to grow in this garden is going to grow. By default, let's say the garden next to me, aka the person who I live with, loves poison ivy. And every year, on spring, the poison ivy likes to spread its seedlings, and it carries over into my garden. And guess what? if I'm not conscious of my garden, it begins to grow. Not because I want to, but because of the influence, my environment, and everything that is around me. And by the nature of things, things are going to be affected and spread. So, as a gardener, if I don't clean that garden, if I don't tend for it, if I don't, if I'm not conscious about my own garden, things are going to grow on its own. And that is an unconscious garden. And if you look into that, you might come across some gardens that have been growing for too long, that's been unattended, and we can clearly see that this garden has not worked on itself. It is clear as day that this garden does not care, or the gardener doesn't care. That is not to say that that is bad or good, it is just what it is, and is going to yield what it is. But if you would like to create a garden of consciousness that yields what you desire, just know that you can uproot everything in a garden by decision at this very moment in time. Of course, there are going to be lingering paths of roots that lies there, that craves for the same rooting system that's been created over the years, but over time, those holes, those spaces, the itchy feeling of wanting to go back to the old habits, it's going to come. Because to uproot something, we're just taking it out, and there's going to be holes, there's going to be spaces left that needs to be filled. But over time, that garden is going to fill itself up. It's going to heal. It's going to patch itself up and make ground for new, possible plants or decisions to plant whatever you desire. But that is going to sum up today's episode. If you made it to this point, I'd like to thank you for being here. And be kind to yourself. Be kind to the garden. Be kind to your garden. Because if you don't like where you're at, just know that you can change that. And everything takes time. It's a whole lifespan ahead. And as a gardener, it's our job to do whatever we please. It is our garden after all, so if you please to not do anything, then so be it. But if you do decide to do something about it, that will also so be it. That will also so be it for me. I will see you on the next one. Take care.